Hello and welcome back. Now in the next few videos we're going to be looking at these skills in a little bit more detail. So the first thing we're going to look at is planning. Now planning has to be thorough. If you're not thorough with your planning, or if you're not planning, then you're planning for failure. And that's both with us as students and teachers in how we go about our weekly and daily lives, but also in big business. Thorough planning is the way to success. So let's write that down. Now, thorough planning helps us to see what progress is being made. So by looking at the progress, then we can project certain things. First of all, what problems may arise? And if we can see what problems arise, then we can also come up with solutions. So we need to, with thorough planning, make sure there's progress. One of the programs I like watching on TV is all about haulage companies moving large objects from one point to another. These can be everything from some form of house to a very large farming implement or a tool or a large lorry, whatever it is. Although the task is a simple one, moving something from point A to point B, the guys who do this don't just simply jump into a cab in the morning and head off. What they do is that they have to plan their route. This can take months. On one occasion, they were able to look at all the problems, so being able to negotiate low bridges, power lines, trees, and they come up with various solutions. So it might be deflating the tyres down to a certain level, changing the angle of the lorry, building roads in order to be able to get from point A to point B. So these guys, because they have planned well, they can see the progress, they can see the problems and come up with solutions. Now, another part of good, thorough planning is the idea of the first phase. The first phase involves scope. Scope is connected with how broad and how deep the solution is going to be. So within the idea of planning, it's deciding what needs to be done and what does not need to be done. What determines the scope of the planning are constraints. Now, constraints can be seen as barriers, things that are preventing us from doing that extra bit more or spending that extra bit length of time on it. So here are the constraints which can often be impinged upon the scope of a project. So the first one would be money. More often than not, you're going to have this being your biggest constraint, that of money. So if you're doing some house refurbishments and you want to put down some paving, or you want to put up a nice swimming pool fence, you'd say, right, well, let's have some nice frameless glass swimming pool fence. But that might be too much for you. So you've got to say, well, we can't have that. We'll just have the ordinary iron bar one. So you have to think about how much money you have and what you can do with the amount of money available. Time is another constraint. Often it is determined by a set deadline date, and that is immovable. So all the things that you would like to do, you might not be able to do because you're constrained by time, by deadline date. Another major constraint is staff availability. We talked about in the previous episode the idea of what expertise there might be. Also the idea of the amount of staff that are available. So what can be done will be determined by expertise and number of people able to do the certain task. Once you've got your constraints sorted out, so money, time, staff availability, then you can think about milestones. Milestones are major completions. So when we talk about milestones, in the previous video we talked about the idea of building a car. A milestone would be, say, the bodywork being finished. That would be a major stage done. That doesn't mean that the whole car would be done, but a major part of that project would be completed. When a milestone is completed, what accompanies a milestone is a progress report. A progress report will be something which says how well the project is going, what possible hiccups there could have been, a little bit of a review of that particular stage. So what we've gone and looked at in this video is planning, and the idea of being thorough planning in order to be able to progress and see the progression of the task, to determine what problems and what solutions there are. To look at the first phase of any planning, looking at the type of scope, the breadth and the depth of the project that is needed, and that is often determined by the money, the time and the staff available. And then from those constraints we can come up with the milestones. What major sections can be applied to this project? What can actually be accomplished? And then for the completion of each milestone, there is a progress report which looks at and evaluates how that particular section went, how it could be done better, and how the project or the whole plan is going overall. Thank you very much.